The regular meeting of the Annapolis City Council for Monday, March 8th, 2021 will be called to order at 7 p.m. At this time, would everyone join us for the invocation with Alderman Savage, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. So as the council gathers here to make laws affecting the people of Annapolis, I ask you to lift your heads, open your eyes, and open your hearts. Let us remember that we are all connected by our common humanity and by our common love for Annapolis. Thank you all.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, we're getting better.
Time we meet in person, we'll be able to do that in unison.
We still need the bouncing ball.
On our last Zoom call, we're all going to sing that, and then we'll be back in council chambers. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley.
Here.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Here.
Alderman Payon.
Here.
Alderwoman Pendell Charles.
Here.
Alderwoman Finlayson.
Present.
Alderman Shandemeyer.
Present.
Alderman Gay.
Here.
Alderman Savage.
Present.
Alderman Arnett.
Present.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the first item on the agenda.
Yes, the first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, sir.
So I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley.
Yes.
Alderman Shandemeyer.
Yes.
Alderman Gay.
Yes.
Alderman Savage.
Aye.
Alderman Arnett.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Aye.
Alderman Payon.
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendell Charles.
Aye.
And Alderwoman Finlayson.
Aye.
Got everybody, right?
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, the next item is ID 721, City Council Citations, COVID Heroes.
Okay, we're going to bring in a few of your favorite people right now. Come on, you've got to come on the camera. No one gets out without getting on the camera. We've got to see if you blush. All right. Let's get a good round of applause for these guys before I read the citation. We love you guys. So, let me just read this out first. We have 4 citations for City Annapolis employees. On Friday, March 12th, it will be exactly 1 year since the city locked down for COVID. Even though our buildings are closed to the public, city employees have continued working throughout the past year, and they've been able to do their best because they're great. So we have employee support leadership team right here in front of us. The members are Kerry Berger, Assistant City Attorney, Mary Kate Zabrowski, Senior Emergency Management Planner, Corey Bradley, Risk Management Administrator, and Trish Hopkins, Manager of Human Resources. I'm going to read a citation for you all now. On behalf of the residents of the City of Annapolis, we are pleased to confer upon you this City Council citation in recognition of your work with the city employees throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. as part of the employee support leadership team. You have worked to keep employees and their families safe and informed and up to date on executive orders issued by the county executive and the governor, as well as virus updates by the Centre for Disease Control. You have done all this while maintaining your regular job responsibilities. The City of Annapolis employs more than 500 people, and even though our offices are closed to the public, many of our co-workers have jobs that work directly with the public throughout this time. Your time and attention to detail has kept us safe. We thank and appreciate you. I also want to thank Marcus Moore for nominating you to be recognized this evening. Thank you, Marcus, in our transportation department. We will send your citations to your inboxes. Thank you all for all you guys do. We love you. Thank you. Another round. Okay. I think we have a second round here. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item.
Yes, sir. The next item is ID 821, City Council Citations, International Women's Day.
Excellent. Another one my mum would be proud of. So we've got a few people coming in here. I think Laura's coming in. Our next group of citations are for International Women's Day. Here to talk more about it is Laura Gutierrez from our office. Laura supervises our Take Care Health Equity Outreach teams and is the Mayor's Office Hispanic Community Service Specialist. Laura?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today is International Women's Day, and we wanted to highlight women in our community who have helped throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. We invited them to be included in this virtual meeting tonight. They have been organizing health fairs, providing flu shots in the coldest days of winter, organizing and helping to connect people to food drives, diaper pantries, and other supplies. They have been helping with rental assistance, eviction prevention, health equity, education. They've participated in bi-weekly meetings to ensure our work is being equitable, and the list could go on and on. While the work they do can be invisible to most, we want each of them to know that we see and value the work that they are doing. So we thank you for your service to our community, and on International Women's Day, we thank you for the example of leadership and caring each of you showcase for girls, teens, and other women in our community. And I will read their names right now. Susana Cruz, Ethel Leon Worth, Tomasa Gomez, Roxana Rodriguez, Saraí Hernandez, Natalie Gispi, Gabriela Roque, Christine Krabs, Charlotte Wallace, Kelly Bickford, Claudia Sanabria, Alexa Moran, who also worked with us in the mayor's office, Crystal Coldiron, Sarah Daniels Larson, Cindy Contreras, Angelica Vergil, and Alicia Vigo. Mr. Mayor, if you would like to read the citation.
I'm so glad that Laura did that because I would have butchered all of your names. Thank you. Australians are worth with languages than Americans. So, so on behalf of the residents of the City of Annapolis, we are pleased to confer upon you all. We really appreciate everything you do. This City Council citation in recognition of your work throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. It is especially important that we recognize your contribution on this day, International Women's Day, because for 112 years, it has been a day set aside to acknowledge and celebrate the achievements of women around the globe. Very often, the impacts of crisis fall on women. COVID-19 has been no exception. Lost income, unpaid family caregiving, and the domestic work burden have all taken a toll. Throughout the pandemic, right here in our Annapolis community, you have stepped up to not only help women hardest hit, but you've also shown leadership in public health, community outreach, and so much more. We thank you for your service to the community, and we honor you today here on International Women's Day 2021. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, Laura, and thank you to all of you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. Petitions, reports, and communications is the next item, starting with update from the mayor.
Good evening. On March 12th, it will have been a year since we were here in chambers together, where I announced the state of emergency and the city's closure for the COVID-19 pandemic. Just for a few weeks, we thought back then, and we'll get the virus under control, we'll bend the curve and get back to our old routines. That didn't happen. It has been a tough year for children who have had to figure out new routines, missed their friends, and lost out on academic and educational opportunities. For teens and young adults who have faced job loss and social isolation. For those who have experienced food insecurity, loss of income, and uncertainty in their lives. For those who have suffered with COVID as an illness, and it has left many with long-term health effects. And for those who have lost family members or loved ones. It has been a year like no other in Annapolis' long history. We are a resilient city, and I know we'll come back stronger than before. So please join me next Tuesday, March 16th at 6 p.m. on Facebook Live event with Health Officer Nilesh Kalyanaraman and others as we look a little bit back on the year that was, but also look forward on how we come out of the pandemic. With the outlook, what the outlook is for herd immunity, for when we can expect to begin to get to our old routines. I hope you'll all join us on Tuesday, March 16th at 6 p.m. for that virtual town hall on YouTube or Facebook. As you just heard from Laura Gutierrez, the Take Care Health Equity team has been doing a lot of work in the community throughout the pandemic. Working with our partners in the field of healthcare, the team literally goes door to door to connect people in the African American and Hispanic communities to the resources they need to improve their health. They have hosted flu clinics, helped people with food and rental assistance. They have built trust and bridges to service. They have assessed and prioritized the needs of the minority community. We're also proud of their work. Check your emails from Laura in the coming weeks. She is releasing a report on their work, and I know you will be proud too that the City of Annapolis has been proactive and interactive. In the coming week, they're working with the health department to bring a COVID-19 vaccination clinic to Annapolis at area churches, including Mount Olive Church in Parole and Inglesia Hispanic Church in Admiral Heights. To learn more, visit www.tinyurl.com/Annapolis Vaccines. These clinics are focused on bringing vaccines to underserved communities who qualify under our vaccine priority of 1A, 1B, and 1C. I know that members of the council and the community have expressed disappointment that we haven't been vaccinated. We haven't had a vaccination clinic in Annapolis. I'm pleased to announce this evening that the city manager reported to me after conversations with the county health officer that Annapolis can expect to have a vaccination clinic in April at the Pip Moyer Rec Center. This will likely be weekly clinics as more vaccine becomes available. As many of you know, the allocation of vaccine has been limited, and the health department has been working to stand up clinics in places that accommodate very specific needs of the public and health providers. These settings include Community College and Maryland Live, among others. The only other thing I wanted to talk to you about tonight is the passing of a resident of our community who was so beloved. On Saturday, Alderwoman Finlayson, as acting mayor, was able to present a proclamation declaring Carl Esther Smith Day to his family. Let me read some of those highlights. Whereas a generation of Annapolis residents have been witness to the kindness of Carl Esther Smith, known as the Walking Man, as he smiled and waved to passers-by and picked up trash on daily walks in the West Street corridor and parole community. And whereas Carl Esther Smith was born in 1957 and grew up in Obrey community, in Obrey Court in the Obrey community in the city of Annapolis. And whereas Carl Esther Smith participated in Maryland's Special Olympics as a young person, played basketball at the Stanton Center, and was an honorary member of the Tommy Tom marching band, where he would march during city parades. And whereas Carl Esther Smith became a staple in the community as he cleaned parking lots, washed windows, and waved his trash bag on his daily expeditions. And whereas the Walking Man face page has more than 13,000 followers, showcasing the affection of city residents for Carl Esther Smith. And whereas Carl Esther Smith's beloved by family, friends, and complete strangers, has always had a smile to offer. And whereas Carl Esther Smith was called home on Monday, March 1st, 2021. March 6, 2021 is now Carl Esther Smith Day in the city of Annapolis. I'd like to take a moment of silence whenever you're ready. Thank you. Thank you. I know he's waving down on us all right now. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
So the next item on the agenda is reports by committee.
Alderman Schnellmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next Economic Matters Committee meeting will be this Wednesday, where we will once again be going over the small cell ordinances. However, we think we have enough information and amendments to finally give a report on it. And I am looking forward to bringing this new technology to the city.
Thank you. Alderman Tierney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Transportation Committee will be meeting this Thursday, March 11th, and ditto for small cell systems. We'll be reviewing that, and hopefully we'll get that recommended with the amendments. And I believe we have on the agenda adequate public facilities for transportation. Not sure where that's going to be before the meeting, but we're following it. Thank you.
Alderman Payne, then Alderman Finlayson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Audit Committee will be meeting next Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning. It will be a virtual meeting. We have a number of items that we will be tackling. One of them is the hiring of a consultant to help train our department heads, the council, and the audit committee with regard to some matters that we think are of the utmost importance to the city. And other than that, we have some routine matters, and by all means, it's open to the public, and the public is invited to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Rules and City Government Committee met on Tuesday, March 2nd. We took up 3 pieces of legislation, 051, Emancipation Day, to which we took no action. 01919, Adequate Facilities, we postponed action. And 0621, Agency Regulations, we also postponed action. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, April 6th. And I think there's a proposal to have a joint meeting on that day with the Public Safety Committee. But we will get further information out about that before the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Gay.
Thanks. The Housing and Human Welfare Committee will meet March the 15th at 6:30. We'll hear legislation, and also the community development block grant applications will be discussed. So it's an opportunity to hear updates from those organizations. And I also needed to get an update from the Planning Commission. I haven't been able to get any contact back from anyone as it relates to their agenda. So if someone could help facilitate that, please.
Pendel Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Safety Committee meeting is scheduled for next month, April, Monday, the 5th at 4 p.m. It's my understanding that the joint meeting is going to be held on that day, because in case it needs to be continued, we can just continue it the next day at Rules and City Government. But Alderwoman Finlayson and I can certainly work that out. That was my thought, that if we had to continue it, it could be the next day instead of having it that Tuesday, and then we'd have to continue it till the next month. So, but we'll work that out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no one else. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, the next item on the agenda is comments by the general public.
So I have 4 people coming in live for comments today. The first person is Sean Degnan. If you could come on and please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Sean Degnan here. High Trip Vacations, Annapolis.
Thank you, Sean. I think you just have to read your address into the record, please.
Right. Hey, thanks for having us on. My wife and I, Jennifer, are an Annapolis. We just started an Annapolis-based franchise about a year ago. So talk about tough times, open a new business during a pandemic. We're based in Annapolis. We manage short-term properties. We've got about 15 properties that we manage, 3 or 4 of which now are live inside the zones, the moratorium zones. And what I would just want to say was we're okay with sensible regulations, which is what I believe you had last year. But here we are again, a year later, and I think people deserve a little bit of certainty, not just the investors who would buy a investment property and contribute a lot to the economy of Annapolis, but also just for fairness. So we manage, one of the properties we manage is Alderwoman Tierney's former property on East Street. We believe that property was marketed maybe as a turnkey short-term property, and then here we have Alderwoman Tierney on a crusade to really make it difficult for people like the buyer for that property to run a short-term vacation home business. And then we have another property that we tried to get the paperwork in on time. It was a day late, and they missed the window right before the moratorium went into place. They bought the property strictly for that purpose. I think there's a misperception that that it's all parties, and Airbnbs are bringing in obnoxious guests who are up and partying. I think mostly 99% of our guests are very respectful, very quiet. They're generally families coming into town for visit their kids who are at the Naval Academy, or here to recover from a medical procedure, or to have a family reunion of some sort. But the vast majority are very respectful, and we don't want to see the baby get thrown out with the bathwater. I would also encourage the committee to enforce the rules and regulations already on the books. I would love to see some stats on any noise complaints. Is it the same couple people complaining about the same properties all the time? Do we really have a widespread problem with noise complaints and other things that garbage or blocking cars? And I don't know what the issues are, but I'd love to see the stats on the actual complaints and violations, see if there's enforcement of the rules that already exist. But we find that families want to travel here, and they generally aren't comfortable yet staying in hotels. They might be traveling with other families. They want to spread out. They like a common area. And the vast majority of these guests are very respectful. They bring a lot of business into the community. The homeowners who are running these properties contribute property taxes. They contribute, license registration fees, as well as taxes being remitted on their behalf by property managers such as us. We have ways to monitor noise levels. We have ways to vet guests to make sure we're getting the right element in here, that we're not going to upset the neighbors. We just would ask for fairness, and then we really want certainty. We can't be doing this every single year. It's just unfair to the investment community, but also if we can just get sensible regulations in place, and then people can be confident that those are going to stay in place for a while, I think that would benefit everybody. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. So this is good training for everybody. Live testimony. We'll all be vaccinated soon, so we'll be back in chambers sometime soon. So thank you, Sean. Next person I have on my list is Megan Moore.
Hello, you guys hear me? Sorry, I'm not used to this.
We can hear you. Thank you, Megan.
Okay, perfect. Hey, guys.
Megan, just state your full name and address, please.
Okay, Megan Moore, 86 Charles Street. I think most of you remember me from the 2619 legislation, except for you, Brooks. Hopefully we will get to meet soon. But I'm a lifelong downtown Ward 1 resident, former Main Street retail store owner, and a current property manager for short-term rentals. I'll keep it short, but I do think we need to take a step back from passing any new legislation that is suggested in 0721. Reasons being, basically, the data that I'm seeing from planning and zoning shows that the prior legislation that we just spent all of this time doing is working towards the goal of people becoming licensed, the taxation, and the number of non-owner occupied rentals are going down, not up. As a matter of fact, I've had 4 of my owners actually sell this year with their licenses, which aren't even reflected in these numbers. The housing market's going nuts, lots of people are selling. That even will make it even less. It's a flux business. Not everybody wants to be in it for a long period of time, and some people want them to cash out. So that'll make Ms. Tierney and some of the Ward 1 residents quite happy. So I also found that the wording of this to be extremely vague. Who will be doing the reviews for the licenses should this ban take place? How will this committee be appointed? While I appreciate the grandfathering of existing licenses, I don't think homeowners should lose the flexibility to be able to sell their residences, which is basically their biggest asset, to certain buyers. Sean just went into, and I'm not trying to pick Miss Tierney here, but the fact that she had a property that couldn't sell, which really is the case with a lot of these downtown homes. Some are too small, some are on very busy streets. It's going to take a certain buyer. To ban the idea of who you can sell it to, it's just not right. You know, the only way that some people are going to be able to sell is probably as a short-term rental. So, you know, we're really messing with the real estate market. You know, I don't even like to say the word investors because, you know, most of the people that are coming in really just want a second home, or they plan on moving here at some point. So, you know, I just what can I say? Can I say I say it's unfair, or just in general, I don't think it's good looking forward into our real estate market and just for town in general. So, you know, we desperately need the tourism back. You know, I had a store on Main Street. We know what people, you know, the restaurants, if just downtown people were supporting the restaurants, then the restaurants would still be rolling during COVID. That's not the case. We need our tourism. We need to bring some people into town. I think a ban on new existing licenses just isn't the way to go. We all obviously, we know what COVID's done. I say we focus our time and resources on getting our residents vaccinated, all staying safe and healthy, and you know, getting our downtown just back to normal. You know, let's just not, you know, overdo what all Ross and Sheila and everybody did last year. You know, that's all I'm asking. So I hope you guys actually really consider it, though. You know, so thanks.
Thank you, Megan. Mm-hmm. So we have 3 minutes for everybody, just to let everyone know. Next up, is Christine Schulstead.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep. So if you could just state your full name and address, please, Christine.
You got it. Christine Schulstad, 707 Miller Road, Annapolis, Maryland. I'm the owner of At Home Annapolis Vacation Rental Property Management, and I represent 15 short-term rental licensed and compliant downtown, both owner and non-owner occupied homes. 0721. Okay, here we go again. The timing on this, quite honestly, I don't agree with. There's more important issues out there. Short-term rentals should not even be part of our conversation at this time. I also don't believe that any changes should be made to the current STR legislation until proper data can be collected and analyzed. One of the purposes of O2619 was to collect and analyze data, and that hardly could even begin thanks to COVID. We were going somewhere with it. It was making changes. We went from a supposed 600 short-term rentals in Annapolis City, and now we're at, according to that data, I think it says 166. So to me, that means O2619 is working. It's doing its job. Let's continue to let it do its job. And then we need to readdress this and look at proper data. In the meantime, I think we should just sit and wait for a while. And I know you all have things you have to get done, and you're going to vote on this as you see fit. But I really do think you need to stop, take some time, and just not rush through this. So we don't want to go down this road again. But anyway, congratulations to all the wonderful women out there on National Women's Day. Thank you all for listening. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Christine.
Wait, I had a question. Oh, dang it, she left.
Yeah, I think we are not taking questions. It's just testimony. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Next is Monique Leichhardt.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. If you just state your full name and address, please, Monique.
Yes, good evening. It's Monique Leichhardt, 3290 Green Ash Road in Davidsonville. I just wanted to say thank you for grandfathering us in, and I appreciate that, you know, obviously we have been heard over all these meetings. Last year has been a tough year with COVID. It's been really tough for businesses too, and I'm talking mostly about restaurants and shops. And honestly, I really feel in my heart that Airbnbs or VRBOs, any short-term vacation rentals, hugely support local businesses. People go for a cup of coffee, they go for lunch, they go for dinner, they go shop. They just use all our services and on a daily basis, especially now that there's a lot of mom and dads having children at home, homeschooling. There's also people working from home. It makes them more mobile, and they don't want to always look at the same four walls. So they actually have like a staycation away from home. They still do their job, but they go out to lunch, they go out to dinner. And so it's 7 days a week where I'm noticing my Airbnbs being busy and going to restaurants, Monday through Sunday. So I think it's a huge support of our local business. And even so, they're still hurting. So why are we going to try and make our local restaurants and shops hurt more, when they're already hurting? Don't tell me local residents are going to spend more money than tourists do in restaurants. They're not. It's just not a fact. I'm not against regulating. I've always said that. I've spoken up at city meetings many times, and I said, yes, I'm all for regulating. I'm all for paying taxes. What's fair is fair. And so if there are too many houses on one street, don't give them a license. If there's no parking at all at that property, and actually the neighborhood is impositioned by a house that doesn't have parking on their own site, then don't give them a license. But if they have garage, if they have their own driveway, why limit that? Why not give them a license? The impact to the city should be considered, and I'm glad you're doing that. North Beach is doing something similar. I just purchased a home there a month ago, also for short-term vacation rental. They were very welcoming. They're doing also an exception process of either approving or not approving, but they said, but don't let that stop you. Welcome to the neighborhood. Please go ahead and start renting. So if that's the purpose of just regulating and making sure things are done right, and there's not a party house, because I make sure I don't have more than 6 people, no more than 2 cars that I can support on my own driveway, and no more than what a house can self-support each other. So not parties. I don't want more than 6 people, and I make it very, very clear. So I think, again, regulating is good. North Beach is doing that very successfully. Maybe talk to people in North Beach and see how they do it. So again, if it's for the purpose of regulating, I'm all for it. But if it's for the purpose of trying to outlaw Airbnbs, I think we're on the wrong path. It doesn't support our local businesses, and I would be very hard-pressed against that.
Thank you, Monique. That's me and Alderman Gay out renting that one, Alderman. No partying on that one. I said, that's me and you out. We won't be able to rent that one. Alderman Gay?
I can't even afford them. That's what my question was, is because they're saying parties and all of this stuff. And I'm like, who's doing that? Because when I look at Airbnbs on, or for Annapolis on the link, they're like $200-300 a night. There's no way college kids are doing that. I mean, unless they're rich college kids.
Thank you. We have 2 written testimonies.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, did you have Christine Scholstad on your list?
She already spoke. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
So the 2 written testimonies coming from Tara Casavelis of 161 Porter Drive, Annapolis, and Louisa Garlando of 81 Charles Street, Annapolis. Thank you for your written testimony. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar, approval of journal proceedings, regular meeting minutes, special meeting minutes, and supplemental appropriations, SA 2621, SA 2721, SA 2821.
Are there any objections to items on the consent calendar? This time I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
A second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Yes.
Alderman Chandemeyer?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Yes.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderman Payon? Okay. Alderman Pendle Charles
Aye.
and Alderman Finlayson.
Aye.
Thank you. Fred, with that,
Excuse me, Madam Clerk, I was on mute. I didn't realize it. Aye.
thank you.
You, Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is business and miscellaneous, starting with supplemental appropriations SA 2521, Grant Fund, Bureau of Treasury through Anne Arundel County Mayor, Anne Arundel County Revenue, Federal Operating Grant Revenue, $100,000.
Can I get a motion to approve SA 25-21?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Sorry.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor with a show of hands, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Is there, Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, we're now on legislative actions. First reader, 0721, short-term rental licenses, conservation districts, for the purpose of requiring special exception approval for a new non-owner occupied short-term rental license in the R2 and C1, and C1A conservation residence districts.
Is there a motion to adopt O-7-21 on first reader?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, no discussion. With a show of hands, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no.
Recuse.
Alderman Tierney, sorry, I didn't see your hand up. I apologize.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I think one thing that I definitely need to say is that missing from the legislation is a map, a zoning map that specifically outlines these 3 conservation districts. So it's very clear the extent of the special exception process. And I may as well add that this is not a ban. It is introducing a special exception process in response to the testimony that we heard tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please, let's refer this to Planning Commission and Rules of City Government, please. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. First reader, R421, Annapolis Ward Boundary and Redistricting Commission, for the purpose of establishing a commission that the city historically forms after each federal decennial census to reevaluate the boundaries of its wards and generally relating to the commission.
Bit of housekeeping here. Is there a motion to adopt R4-21 on first reader?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor with a show of hands say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is R521, itinerant merchant sales in the Historic District 2021, for the purpose of authorizing hawker, peddler, and itinerant merchant sales in the Historic District in conjunction with certain special events during calendar year 2021.
Could I get a motion for R-5-21?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Alderman Gay?
Yeah, I expressed this concern earlier in our luncheon, and I didn't have a chance to look at the actual agenda layout. You know, people haven't been vaccinated. People are still struggling to get the vaccine. People aren't being tested, accordingly, as the CDC recommends. July the 9th, July the 4th, that's so close to major holidays. I don't know if we're prepared to recommend mass gatherings like that in the city. Are we prepared to hire the appropriate staff to coordinate social distancing and make sure that people are wearing their mask and, all that's appropriate? This says tango dancing. You can't tango dance with that 6 feet. And so I just think there are concerns. Obviously, I'd like to see the city get back to normal, but just with the appropriate steps. And I think that is hiring the appropriate staff to manage these functions that are not police officers, because they have other stuff to do than make sure people are wearing their mask.
Alderman Tierney.
Thank you. I understand completely. Let me just explain that this legislation is an annual requirement. The objective here was to have the legislation get ahead, if you will, and so that would not be an obstacle if these events are in turn held. They may not be held, but at least the legislation is in place to allow, in this case, the merchants to sell what they do at these certain events. It's a requirement of the special event legislation that's in the city code, chapter 7.40.090. So again, it's just to set the framework, and if we decide that we are not going to have the event, they'll just be canceled as any other event is. But I understand your concern, definitely.
Thank you. Alderman Pindell-Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question for our city manager, Mr. Gerald. Mr. Gerald, I know that during our events during COVID, we've had the organization, and the name is escaping me now, that wear the vest and that come, I think, through the Office of Emergency Management. Will they still be participating in our events and being great ambassadors to reminding our visitors as well as our residents to wear their mask and keep social distancing?
Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, Mr. Gerald.
Yeah, so we have had two separate teams that have done that. So the CERT team, which is the Community Emergency Response Team, did it for the longest time last summer. And then towards the end into the fall, we brought on a separate COVID enforcement team. So we don't plan to use those again. Those were funded with the CARES money, and we've disestablished that. But the CERT team would still be available. I think that's who you were referring to was the ambassadors for all these events, and they will still be available.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's the team I was referring to. Thank you, Mr. Gerald.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor with a show of hands, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
On first reader, anyone opposed, say no. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is R621, nonprofit vendors during fall 2021 boat shows for the purpose of authorizing sales by certain vendors in the City Dock area of the Historic District during the fall of 2021 U.S. sailboat and powerboat shows.
Is there a motion to adopt R6-21 on first reader?
So moved.
Get a second, please.
Second.
Okay, we've got our fingers crossed for boat show.
Yeah, big time.
Alderman Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a quick question on how does an organization get on this list? Is it an application process with the special events team?
I think let's Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, we would be happy to hear from them. It's kind of been a standard group of vendors over the years, but certainly if there's organizations that are interested, they should reach out to us and we'll see if we can accommodate them down there. I think it'd be worthwhile to have additional vendors.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with a show of hands, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, say no. The boat show, Alderman Gay. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is R721, annual reports for the purpose of receiving the combined annual reports of the Annapolis committees, commissions, boards, and authorities.
Is there a motion to adopt R-7-21?
So moved.
On first reader?
Second.
Second.
Q. Any discussion? All those in favor with a show of hands say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item agenda.
Mr. City Attorney, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Got it. I'm sorry. Second readers, proposed motion to withdraw 0521.
I see there's a motion to withdraw it, yeah, for 0521 Emancipation Day. Did someone have a motion to withdraw that? Sorry.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I did. The costs were adding up more than I thought they would end up being, and due to the budget crunch, it's probably not the best time to carry forward on this. I am proud that we put forward a resolution to make Emancipation Day a significant holiday in our city, and but doing the actual ordinance is a little too much financially.
Second.
Any other discussion, sorry? Alderman Gay.
Do you plan to tweak the legislation so that it would at least be a holiday of recognition, or swapping out a holiday that is not as important as the holiday that we are attempting to recognize?
So with the swapping out holidays, which was my original idea when someone brought it forward, ended up like getting into our contract negotiations with the unions and overly complicating stuff. And then when I reached out to the law office to ask, to basically say, okay, but can we tweak this ordinance to make it like a day of recognition, a day of significance or some kind? They said that the resolution that we put forward, asking the state of Maryland to do it, accomplished that. If I am misinterpreting that with anyone in the law office, please correct me and we can edit or reintroduce something appropriately, but that is what I...
Yeah, because how would that recognize it as a significant holiday to the city when we were requesting that the state recognize it as a state holiday, not a city holiday?
I was just informed that by the law office. I am more than happy to reintroduce it as such, but as it currently stands, it's just not salvageable.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion to withdraw with a show of hands say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is O4620, Public Health and Safety for the purpose of removing obsolete provisions, authorizing Department of Public Works to establish regulations governing garbage and refuse, reassigning certain enforcement powers to the Deputy City Manager for resilience and sustainability, creating definitions, clarifying procedures and penalties concerning commercial solid waste collection and contract approval.
Is there a motion to adopt O-46-20 on second reader?
So move.
To a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. We have 1 to 4 tyranny amendments. And 1 and a 5th Savage amendment. Can you get those on the floor, Alderman Tyranny?
Yeah, I'd like to move them together, 1 through 4.
Okay.
So that's my motion.
Thank you. Can I get a second on that, please?
Second.
Yep.
Anyone need discussion on it?
Okay.
Alderwoman Tierney, please, in honor of International Women's Day, come before me.
I think I've had, oh, I won't say it. It's just this, let me just give you a quick synopsis. This legislation has sort of gone 360. It was a real test case in whether or not we put regulations in the code or not in the code. In this particular case, we decided to put them in the code because they were short and brief, and that was the objective of the legislation. The other big objective of this legislation was the county, the Anne Arundel County handles our food service. So Dr. Nash gets mad at me when I call this a cleanup in aisle 3 legislation, but we basically wiped out all of the references to food service in this in the title, and then we introduced the provisions for being a wonderful commercial waste hauler and what you need to do and all that wonderful stuff. and then so the amendments, that's where we went 360 and said, okay, the base legislation said regulations will be under separate cover. In this particular case, for one-stop shopping, we put them back in, and that was amendment, I'm out of order here, but that was amendment 3 as the hours of when you put the issue was, there's been, as we know, certain people on Main Street that can complain about trash all the time. And one of the problems is that the restaurants can't get there in time to take their bins in. But then we also wanted to be clear about the existing code where they should not put their bin out sooner than X time and blah, blah, blah. So we put that in Amendment 3. Amendment 1 was just wordsmithing, and Amendment 2, I don't know about anybody else, but I always have to look up 12 a.m. whether or not that's midnight or the other one. So we specified midnight instead of 12 a.m. And then 4 was just the wordsmithing to accommodate Amendment 3.
Okay, let's just vote on those with a show of hands. Or Alderman Gay, do you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah. So Amendment 2, is that applying to commercial or residential properties, or is this all commercial?
No, they have different requirements. That particular one is Amendment 2 is for the 6 a.m. That's for residential place materials and approved video. Yeah.
So I would ask my colleague Alderman Arnett to just indulge in discussion with me for a second as it relates to the issue that we had with a constituent on our border and the 6 a.m. pickup. Would this be a time to amend Amendment 2 to push for a 7 a.m. residential pickup?
Well, the problem is, as I see it, is that I guess, do we determine that public housing is residential or commercial? I think they're collected by commercial, not city trash. So this wouldn't be the right place to make that change. It would have to be under commercial trash removal.
Okay, and I see in Amendment 3 commercials. Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a vote on these first 4. All those in favor with a show of hands say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say no. Thank you. Alderman Savage for the 5th Amendment. Move that.
Yeah, I'd like to move Amendment 5.
A second, please.
Second.
Alderman Savage.
Yeah, just quick explanation. The way it was originally drafted, the ordinance was it addressed the language and had the Deputy City Manager for Resilience and Sustainability be the enforcement party, for the phone ban. And it was brought to our attention by the law office, I believe, that that office, City Manager's office, does not have the enforcement capabilities. And so we spoke with the Director for Public Works in the Environmental Matters Committee meeting, and he was good with just putting in what the amendment wording is, which is the Director of Public Works or designee, since that department does have various enforcement capabilities.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor with a show of hands say aye. 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 Anyone opposed, say no. Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt O-46-20 as amended on second reader?
So moved.
So moved.
Second for that, please.
Second.
All those in favor with a show of hands say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt O-46-20 on third reader?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Alderman Gay? Oh, quick on the draw. So Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Yes.
Alderman Shandemeyer?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Aye.
Alderman Payon.
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendel Charles.
Aye.
And Alderwoman Finlayson.
Aye.
And the motion carries.
Yeah. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is 04920, drug loitering free zones repeal. For the purpose of repealing certain provisions of the city code relating to loitering and drug loitering free zones.
So is there a motion to adopt O-49-20 on second reader?
So move.
So move.
And a second,
Second.
please. Thank you. All those in favor with a show of hands, say aye. Or any discussion? Sorry, Alderman Gay, were you? Aye, thank you. Sorry. You're quick tonight. You're catching me. Is there a motion to adopt O-49 on third reader?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley.
Yes?
Alderman Sandemeyer.
Aye.
Alderman Gay.
Aye.
Alderman Savage.
Aye.
Alderman Arnett.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Aye.
Alderman Payon.
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendel Charles.
Aye.
Alderwoman Finlayson.
Aye.
That motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
This is a related resolution to repeal the fines associated with the previous bill, R6520.
Is there a motion to adopt R-6520 on second reader?
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Just a roll call, Regina?
Yes, sir.
Any
Mayor Buckley?
discussion before roll call? No. Thank you.
Mayor Buckley.
Madam City Clerk? Yes? Aye.
Okay. Alderman Sandemeyer.
Aye.
Alderman Gay.
This is, yes, aye.
Okay. Alderman Savage.
Aye.
Alderman Arnett.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Aye.
Alderman Payon.
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendel Charles.
Aye.
And Alderwoman Finlayson.
Aye.
And that motion carries.
Thank you. Good to get out of the way. Mr. City Attorney, please
Yes,
present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, sir. The next item is R221, non-motorized wheeled vehicles on sidewalks for the purpose of encouraging the Maryland General Assembly to amend state law to allow non-motorized wheeled vehicles on sidewalks by default, providing amendment language and generally relating to non-motorized wheeled vehicles on sidewalks.
So a motion to adopt R-2-21 on second reader?
So moved.
So move.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Alderman Gay had his hand up first. Did you have your hand up, Alderman Pan? Sorry.
No.
No. Alderman Gay?
Yeah, thanks. I had a question because I'm inclined not to support this legislation as I think it is extremely dangerous to have, but in certain areas, I understand that the director has, purview to decide which areas will allow this. But I just think it's dangerous right now. We don't have the proper infrastructure in place to support bikes, on the sidewalks. We barely have to support them in the streets. But let me add this, though. I had legislation in, and I believe we passed it, that asks the city manager and the planning and zoning the director of public works to reach out to Uber and Lyft and to create certain designated zones for pickups. This would, alleviate traffic for bikes on our city streets, and especially in the downtown area. Is there any update on that?
Mr. City Manager?
I thought that had already passed. Has that not gone through? Because I remember that we met and talked about that, and I thought it had already passed, honestly.
Yeah, it's passed, but I'm saying, have we reached out to coordinate those, the appropriate zoning? Because what happens is that they would then put that in their app, in their technology, that you can only pick up in this place. and coordinating that with, legislation like this and biking groups and stuff creates a safer, downtown and a safer place for people to bicycle in our city. So I think that I would like to follow up on that and get planning and zoning to reach out to these ride sharing organizations.
Maybe if Dr. Nash is on the line or Eric Lashinsky, maybe if they have anything to add. Let's see.
Good evening. I think he said the Director of Public Works, is that right? It's for marking on street spaces?
Oh, I guess the outreach to Uber and Lyft, I'd assumed it was a bit through you, Sally. Am I wrong? Is it through Public Works, Alderman?
I think that would be Public Works.
Okay.
I'm happy to do it if you want. I believe the legislation said Public Works.
Okay, I apologize. Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, it would be a combination between the Department of Transportation and Public Works, because planning and zoning has the loading zones and the parking issues. So it would be both of them.
Thank you. Alderman Gay?
Yeah, no, I was saying, I believe they had a group that met bi-weekly that discussed issues like this. I thought that planning and zoning would be involved because of the changes, and I don't know, I just feel like they should be privy to any updates on streets and things like that. But yeah, and whoever could follow up with it.
Alderman Arnett had his hand up first.
Yes, I think I'm going to say the same thing that Alderwoman Tierney. I share Alderman Gay's concern about the danger of these vehicles on sidewalks, but that legislation already passed, and this is simply a resolution asking the county to do something, recognize it or do something. Maybe Ellie can explain it better.
Alderwoman Tierney and then Alderwoman Finlayson.
Yes, that was, we passed legislation 031-20, I believe. It did go through committee. It was basically turning the code language, existing code language, from a negative to a positive, saying that we will allow bicycles on streets unless there's a sign prohibiting. So it does allow us to survey areas where it is unsafe. And the legislation got a lot of support from the Transportation Board and other bicycle advocates, knowing that sometimes you just have to go up on the sidewalk. But this resolution is taking it a step further and saying to the General Assembly, can you just do what we did and have the same language? So Alderman Arnett is correct. And so the language reads, unless prohibited by local ordinance, a person may ride a bicycle, play vehicle, or unicycle on a sidewalk, or a unicycle. Oh my God, I just saw that. Anyways, sidewalk or sidewalk areas. Riders shall proceed in a safe manner, yielding to pedestrians. I'm sorry, I haven't seen a unicycle yet. Have you, Gavin?
I have.
I'd like to know.
I have seen it.
Have you? Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
That skateboard guy's got one wheel. You see that guy with his dog all the time? It's
yeah.
Alderman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I need to hear from the law department as far as liability is concerned, because I feel like Alderman Gay that this is dangerous. And so I can't believe that there is no, and I checked, there's no particular impact as far as fiscal responsibility, but it does appear to put us at risk of liability for accidents. So what am I missing here?
Mr. City Attorney?
The law just indicates your support for a state bill. It's not doing anything.
But if we approve this, then we are endorsing what we are asking the state to do, of course.
Yes, there would be no additional liability. I mean, there's liability for almost everything in the sense that somebody could sue the city, but it's nothing additional that we could see.
Okay, and the Public Safety Committee feels that this is a good thing also. I didn't see a report from the Public Safety Committee.
Not everyone on that committee feels that way, I can tell you that.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles, may I ask?
I'm sorry, Alderwoman Finlayson, can you repeat your question?
The Public Safety Committee, how did you guys rule on this legislation?
I recall, we ruled favorably on the legislation, but then I'm looking at the agenda. It doesn't look like it came through public safety.
I think there's confusion here. Let me try to be clear. We had legislation 031-20. It was an ordinance. It went through transportation, public safety, et cetera. It was passed. It was this language that basically said this. And this resolution that didn't go through anything, it just is just saying to the General Assembly, could you do what we just passed this past January? So it's already been litigated. I'm not sure what happened that we're all concerned about it now, because it did go through the legislative process. And I'm sorry about that, but it was passed in January with a couple of amendments. It was sponsored by myself and Gavin. Go ahead.
We can look up the vote if we need to. Alderman Arnett.
So I voted against it. I move reconsideration of 031-20.
You can come before the Transportation Board.
Alderman Pendle Charles and then Alderman Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Normally in cases such as these, because I'm on the Transportation Committee as well, I personally would tend to look at what the Transportation Board comes back with, because I know they'll dig a little bit deeper rather than on the public safety side. So personally, that's how I look at this type of legislation, because I know Mr. Regal, who's the chairperson, does a lot of hard work and does a lot of digging and really looks through this and does his homework. So for me, that's kind of the barometer for me, if it comes through public safety, something like this piece of legislation.
Thank you. Alderman Gay was next, then Alderman Tierney.
Thank you. I briefly remember debate on 0320, whatever it was. I'm with Ross to bring it up for reconsideration. So then I would just request that if that is already passed and the council does not feel it's necessary to create an ordinance to go back and repeal that, then the Director of Public Works or Transportation or whomever discretion is under should decide then how we can move forward with best practices for sharing the sidewalk. I mean, think about it. You got every store with a little plant feeder out, a dog bowl, a store sign. And it's so much commotion on the sidewalks. And so there are other cities that I've been in and that I believe many of my colleagues have visited and traveled where they, pick up best practices for bike lanes or shod sidewalk methods. And I think that if the city has decided overwhelmingly, the voters and the Transportation Committee and the council, that we are going to be a biking community, or we are going to focus on alternative modes of transportation outside of vehicles, then we need to pick up best practices to meet those needs. Otherwise, it's pointless to pass an ordinance that would create further chaos as it relates to best practices for bike sharing and pedestrians on sidewalks.
I agree. Alderman Tierney, then Alderman Chandler-Meyer.
Well, I just want to say that, okay, so everyone understands this is a resolution that's not related to the past ordinance, but in the past ordinance, there was concern addressed about the safety of the sidewalks. And there was an amendment that was added that said, before any decision is made, there's a collaborative review between the relevant city boards and commissions and other entities as may be deemed useful by the transportation director to undertake assessments and develop standards. So to address, I feel like we're relitigating this, but I just want to say there's limited streets and sidewalks in Annapolis. It's always been in the code that sidewalks could be used for bicycles. The existing language in the code was not clear. So it was clarified that, that you can ride on the sidewalk as you always can, but unless prohibited by a sign, et cetera. The amendment then says that those signs will be placed with a collaborative effort, saying this is not a safe place to ride a bicycle. I mean, if you're going over the Eastport Bridge and you say you can't use the sidewalk, that gets pretty scary. So there's all those examples that were brought up in this legislation, which I feel like now is done in a parallel universe, but okay.
Thank you. Alderman Chennemeyer.
Yeah, this is basically the ordinance that passed is mostly for areas like Forest Drive, where trying to ride your bike on that is incredibly dangerous. Having attempted that once and then almost getting clipped, I started riding my bike on the sidewalk very quickly. So I think that's what our ordinance that again already passed is going to have a bigger impact with, rather than like commercial neighborhoods such as downtown. And this resolution, I think, if we send this resolution to the General Assembly, we can encourage them to help other towns and municipalities such as ours to improve and provide a little bit of a safer biking alternative while we build our own infrastructure for separate safe.
Thank you. Alderman Savage and Alderman Gay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just I agree with what our Alderman Chandlemeyer had to say. And I think it's important to keep in mind that this language that we passed and that we're recommending or proposing to recommend would, I think, make things safer for both bikers, but also pedestrians on the sidewalk. It's not, I think that's what we need to keep in mind. People are understandably concerned about this potentially leading to more bikes on the sidewalk. But I think we need to make sure, we need to emphasize that the language used emphasizes the need for it to be in a safe and responsible manner, but it also gives the city that authority to identify which sidewalks should not have bikes ridden on them. And for example, downtown, it's really not a good place because there are so many signposts and just it narrows in a lot of areas. But like Alderman Chennemeyer said, Forest Drive, Bay Ridge, there are certain roads that really are unsafe for bikes, and it's best on the sidewalks. And I've commuted to work on the bike before, and I've at certain times that you run into nobody on the sidewalks. It's just me on my bike, and so it really makes no sense for me to stay off in that case. I think this just allows for greater flexibility, and I support this.
Alderman Gay.
All right, so I'm getting the understanding and the gist of everything that everybody's spitting out here. But so why don't we then, and this is me just trying to make, because I think the step of just putting the bikes on the sidewalk is good, but it's not good enough, you know? We should be taking more attempts to make it safe for people to bike in areas like Forest Drive, using methods like just completely getting rid of the sidewalk area and like creating a separate bike lane all the way up Forest Drive that has like that protected, dividers, so that we're really making it safe for both the pedestrian and the bike rider. And so if the city manager could maybe work with, I'm not on transportation, I would love to be, but I'm not. Oh, that is a human welfare issue. So I'll bring it to housing and human welfare. If we could work together, to put together some plan, maybe in the budget for a test project that we let the public know about ahead of time, so they won't come after us. It's just something like that.
You're almost gonna solve it. I like it. Alderman Chandlemeyer had his hand up. Can I let Mr. City Manager just answer that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the Forest Drive probably isn't a good example because that's a county road, but we can certainly look at some of the other roads that should have bike paths. And we look at those a lot because we agree. We would love to have bike lanes on each of those congested roads so the bicyclists are protected.
Thank you. Alderman Chandler.
What I would say is I'm very gung-ho on expanding out biking access for recreation and commuting. But as you know, infrastructure and building these things and getting it through the legislative and approval process takes time. This is a short-term fix, and I don't think we should let better get in the way of good. And we can get a very quick fix in for this portion and work on the long-term solution as we do it. Also.
Okay, Alderman Arnett, then Alderman Turney. Sorry.
So I know we're back to adjudicating the ordinance, but I do have a question from a constituent saying, has there been a study done yet to determine what sidewalks would allow bicycles and what sidewalks we won't allow bicycles on? Back at we passed these ordinances that have implications, including safety implications, and we say there's going to be studies, but I have a sense there isn't anybody assigned to study where we want to let bicycles ride on the sidewalks and where we don't.
I don't think there's been a study, Mr. City Manager.
So maybe we could take a couple of steps back. So state law right now says that unless approved by the city or county, you can't ride on sidewalks. So that's the rule across the state. And that's what we're trying to encourage them to change with this resolution. But the city has always, at least for, X number of years, has approved bicycles on sidewalks. So all that you approved with the ordinance in January was a different wording for that. So it was clear that it was allowed. It was already allowed before, but it was kind of a double negative, and now it's a double positive, I think. So there hasn't been a study done because bicycling on sidewalks has been allowed for years and years. Does that mean that there shouldn't be one done? No, there probably should be, because there's some areas where it's not particularly safe. I can tell you as a biker, like coming down King George, you want to be on the sidewalk there because there's parking on both sides there, and it's really narrow to try and bike down there. So that's one example of it. It works, and there's not usually very many pedestrians on King George sidewalks. There's other examples, and there's also examples of where it doesn't work very well. So as soon as we get some extra staff capacity, we'll do that study.
Oh, good. Fiscal 25.
Alderman Tierney, then Alderman Finlayson.
Yeah, I just, I want to recommend that if you feel uncomfortable with this resolution, the whereas clauses are very convincing. And one thing that sticks out in the whereas clause is that Maryland, the state of Maryland is only one of 4 out of 50 states and the District of Columbia that prohibit non-motorized vehicles on the sidewalk. So that was another reason to say to the state, to coordinate with us. And then the other thing is you don't want to be on your bike and have to get off on county line or state line. You all want to be on the same page here. And it's basically the whereas clause says to promote the use of non-motorized vehicles, albeit in a very safe manner.
Thank you, Alderman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Gerald, do we not have a bike plan in the city already?
Yes, we do. We do indeed.
And does not that plan speak to where bikes are allowed?
It speaks to where we want to have better bike facilities. And that's part of the mayor's WE plan is included in there. There's a lot of recommendations in there of where we want bikes to go, but it doesn't specifically say where they would be allowed on sidewalks or not on sidewalks.
Okay.
It really talks more to where we should have bike lanes, dedicated bike lanes, or dedicated bike paths.
So in part, that plan would speak to solving the problem of bikers being at risk on dangerous streets. maybe.
It would if we had, if it was along a route that's designated as being a biking path, a preferred biking path, then we should have adequate facilities for that in those locations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for considering this transit alternative. Well, it's something we need to all be thinking about. I truly appreciate us considering it on the council. So we're going to take a vote on this. Regina, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Aye.
Alderman Sandemeyer?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
I am a no on second reader because of my concerns.
Okay. Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
No.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderman Payon?
No.
Alderwoman Pendell Charles?
Aye.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
No.
Five to four.
Yep, ayes have it.
Yep. So the motion for that resolution carries. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next on the agenda.
Yes, the next item, sir, is R321, Council Compensation Commission recommendations for the purpose of receiving recommendations of the Council Compensation Commission and scheduling a public hearing on recommendations of the Council Compensation Commission.
To a motion to adopt R-3-21.
I move we receive the recommendations.
Yes.
Second.
Any more discussion? Alderman Savage?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just feel like it's worth reemphasizing with the public that this resolution does not give the council or the mayor any raise. The recommendations do recommend some adjustments to the pay, but all this does is receive the recommendations. And as the city attorney has explained to us previously, if in order to enact any recommended raises, it would have to be, or pay changes, it would have to be made in an ordinance. I think, I can't remember how many months, I think 2 or 3 months before the next election. So this is just receives the recommendations because, I mean, personally, I'm not, especially if we have to end up laying off staff or reducing pay, I don't see myself in a position to approve any kind of pay changes or pay increase for us or the mayor. But again, this doesn't address whether or not we should or not. This just accepts the report.
Thank you, Alderman Payon.
Thank you. Not only does it have to be in the form of an ordinance, but it's got to be funded. So at the budget time will be another opportunity to review that if in fact it passes. It will mean nothing if it's not in the budget. So people shouldn't think we're accepting this, doing anything other than accepting the recommendation of a city-appointed committee. We do that all the time with reports and recommendations. It doesn't mean that we follow them. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Pendell Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to reiterate what my colleagues have said. It says it in the title, for the purpose of receiving the recommendations of the Council Compensation Committee. It's a matter of, I see it personally as a matter of respect and thanking this Compensation Committee for all the work that they have done, whatever the outcome will be. So for me, it's a vote to respect what they have provided to us, not to vote for a raise or not to vote for a raise. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Gay.
Yes, I'd like to reiterate to the public that we make $15,000. That's divided up to $814 every 2 weeks. And this is, I think, $200 or $300 increase per council in the first year. It moves it up to like 15,526, I believe. I got to go back and look at the number. But if you wish to have active representation, they must be funded. And I think that in this last cycle, within the budget discussion, we discussed a number of things, including employee pay, not union employees in our city that make over 100 grand. And let's remember that there was concern there and even adjusting that to decrease it to better protect the city at that time. So just be open-minded and understand that it will be a long discussion. And I think that's appropriate. And I appreciate this compensation commission for doing the work.
Sorry, I too want to thank all the volunteers on the Council Compensation Commission for their work. We truly appreciate all the volunteers in this city and the time that they give us. Thank you. So we're going to do a roll call on this. Regina?
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Aye.
Alderman Shannemeyer?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Aye.
Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendell Charles?
Oh, sorry.
Aye.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
Aye.
The report has been received.
Thank you. All right. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes.
The agenda has been completed, sir.
All right. Is there anything else for good order besides wishing everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day and letting everybody know that it has been pushed to September? So we are feeling good about the potential of that, but we will adjust things as they come at us. Anyone else on Alderman Payon?
I move that we adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Second?
You sure you guys want to leave? Come on.
Yes.
Let's do something. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. Can we have one debate? I'm just getting started.
Regina?
You have to sing happy birthday to Brooks.
You don't have to.
To who?
To Brooks. It was his birthday.
You don't have to.
Oh,
Yes.
all right.
Brooks.
On the count of three. The
And
short version.
Takia, too.
Oh,
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy
birthday, dear Brooks and Takia.
Happy birthday to you.
Gavin.
I'll send the card.
Mr. Mayor, I move reconsideration of Resolution 2-21.
Gonna shoot him.
Good night. Good night.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye. That's what we got to say. Bye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
All right.